It's Sunday night on the bitter end. I'm here with Woogie and the Turn. Hey guys.
Woggles, please.
Woggles.
Why the name change?
What's up, Riggs?
Hey. So we're here. It's Sunday. We're a few days removed from the midterm elections, and we had our little show. We had our little show on Tuesday, and I don't think it went anywhere the way we were expecting, or probably most people were expecting. I think Democrats were expecting to lose a lot more. I think most Republicans were expecting to win a lot more. Some people like myself had really probably unreasonably high expectations just because of the kind of the mood. Maybe we discounted the impact of the Dobbs decision. Maybe we discounted the quality of some of the candidates in some of these races. We discounted the Democratic machine of turning out early votes. We discounted quite a number of things. We discounted Mitch McConnell. We discounted any kind of impact of Donald Trump and Trumpism or MAGA would have on people that maybe weren't too turned on by his candidates or selected candidates, and I don't think we were ready for the level of blowout that occurred in Florida. That one seems to be the one state that kind of defied the expectations. We saw, I think, polls with DeSantis running, maybe 11 points ahead, and Rubio was 6 or 7 points ahead, and I think DeSantis almost hit 20, and Rubio was 15 or something like that. So a lot of stuff went down. So thoughts?
Well, my first question, you mentioned, Florida. My first question is, did they do anything since the last election, or have they done things that prohibit things like the mail-in voting or early voting or all those?
Well, they have early voting. I'm not sure what kind of level of mail-in voting they have. They've done things since 22 years ago. So I don't know that they've done anything differently since 2 years ago. I think they were pretty awesome 2 years ago in that they were pretty much done by 9:30.
Yeah,
and they were pretty much done 6 years ago. That was when kind of people started to scratch their head and wonder what the hell was going on. Was when Florida, I think we were waiting for the panhandle to close, and it was already kind of like the writing was on the wall about what was going to happen in Florida. And then by 8:30 or so, that's when some of the decision desk people we're starting to be like, what do we got here? What's going on? And I think it was a little bit slower 4 years ago because that was such a close race between DeSantis and what, Gillum. So he only won by like a fraction of a percent or something like that. So
Yeah,
that
but we're not talking like Arizona, Nevada slow.
Right. We're talking like midnight. I think it might have spilled over into the next day just because it was so close and wasn't going to be was it going to trigger a recount, and I don't know, did they have a recount with that? I don't know, but I don't remember. But no, we definitely have a situation out west with Nevada, Arizona, and California too, although California for the bigger stuff, probably doesn't matter, but except for punch up imaginary popular vote numbers and that kind of stuff. I mean, I think there's some congressional races out there that are still on the bubble in purplish districts. But no, certainly. And Turn, before you came in, Woogie and I were talking that we didn't want to talk too much because it seems like we get into the green room and we're lamenting this or that or talking about this, and then when we go live we've kind of blown it a little bit. But I would say that without getting too far into election denialism or whatever you want to call it, if you could have, in my view, the elections in Nevada and Arizona could be the most secure, above board, least controversial things imaginable. But because of the way they draw the votes out or count the votes and how this stuff is like just dragging and dragging and dragging, you can't help but be suspicious, so they're feeding into the whole narrative that, I guess might cause people to question the results.
Right.
Woogie was suggesting that Lake had lost. I haven't seen that confirmed anywhere, but it doesn't look good. I think Masters lost. So I think Kelly declared victory, and I don't know if Masters has conceded yet, but those two candidates don't strike me as ones that would concede without recounts and stuff. But
you have to finish counting before you can recount.
Yeah. What are your so what do you guys like thoughts after sleeping on it for a couple days?
I mean, we have talked a bit. I think that so there's a few different things going on. My opinion is the reason why it's like damn. So it's kind of a simplistic view of it, but the get out the vote thing was a left driven sort of evangelistic thing to try to get people to go vote under this pretense of good stewardship of the electorate, right? I want to think that it was started with the best intentions, but as we know from our friend Shakespeare, the road to hell is paved in those good intentions. And what happened is you create an organization that now has a database of all the people that have no intention of voting, but might like a gift card to get their mail ballot.
Well, right? And we chatted about this during the week, and I think you're underestimating what kind of data is actually out there. They're not building a database, based on their experiences over the last 2 years or 4 years. This data is there. It's out there. It's out there for Republicans to use. It's out there for Democrats to use. We have the voter rolls. We know who's dead. Right. We know who's never votes and who's registered. We know who's not registered. Let me rephrase. They're going to go and find the people that aren't likely to vote, and they're going to get their vote. And that's what we're talking about. Not
exactly.
There's no trial and error. It's here's the people, here's where they live or last known address, and we're going to go get them, and we're going to go get them to request a ballot, or in the case where we send everybody a ballot, we're going to go get their ballot, and we're going to make sure it's filled out the right way. So
exactly. So but we're in agreement, just the phraseology, honestly, because that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think where I think you're at is that you think there's some kind of experimentation going on where we're going to try to find people who we think we can get their vote on a regular basis, and it's like this information they know who, they know where, and they know when. So and we know that too.
And now you have an organization that's mobilized and funded by many different streams of funding to harvest that, right? I mean, because what's easier to do? Ask somebody to go vote or vote for them?
Yeah, well, you're alleging some criminality that I don't even know is. I mean, I'm sure there's some of that, but I think it's and we Turn, you kind of chastised me the other day, that it's not just buying lonely old grandma at the nursing home a cup of coffee and asking her for your vote. It's a little more heavy-handed than that. 100%. But
I'm with WOG on this. Yes,
but it's they have a system and they're exploiting it, and I don't think it was done under good intentions. I think that they knew 2 years ago that COVID was in or going to be in the rearview mirror. There was no danger to anybody to going out and casting a ballot. Right. And in places like New Jersey, we were forced into a vote by mail type scenario, where everybody got the paper ballot. They put a drop box at our city hall. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to vote in person, you could do that, but you had to make an appointment to go to one polling location, which was at the municipal building, and do it. So naturally, everybody's going to go and vote, do the vote by mail thing or the drop box, and it's not that difficult to go to one of the assisted living facilities and on the day that the mail is delivered and kind of make sure that stuff gets
filled out correctly,
processed correctly, fortified.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense to me, because, and I know I keep talking over, the Turn hasn't jumped in here, hasn't gotten the turn, but it's the thing that makes the most sense, because everybody keeps all this stuff with like Linwood and Release the Kraken with what's her face and like all that stuff. They weren't able to actually like get anywhere because it wasn't fraud, like in the classic sense of like people are filling out ballots at the collection center or bringing in carloads of stuff into a center or that kind of fraud. It's all ahead of time.
Well, they were focused on something much more nefarious and conspiratorial, which distracted away from the stuff we're talking about right now.
Right.
Very real stuff that actually happened and is you can prove it. I haven't seen that 2,000 Mules or whatever Dinesh D'Souza's movie is. I don't know how. I think he basically because you can get the cell phone data, right? So they basically bought the cell phone data, and I think part of that was basically tracking people going from Dropbox to Dropbox to Dropbox, and it's like, well, there's no reason for this to have happened other than in fortifying fortifying an election for desired candidates. So the vote machine hacking and
that's
Hugo
all
Chavez stuff is so that was such a big distraction and unfortunate that people got taken in by that, and when everything is kind of non-controversially sitting right in front of our faces. Right. And you either get in the game or you keep stepping on the rake like Sideshow Bob, where you're saying, we're gonna really crush him on election day. We're gonna flood the zone. We're gonna get all our people out there. We're gonna vote in mass, and we're gonna overcome whatever early lead they might have with the mail-in stuff.
And isn't it interesting that didn't work in Arizona, right? Because those who all waited for election day shows up, and guess what? Everything's broken. Can't vote on election day, barely.
Right.
Yeah, but I think you can look at Pennsylvania.
That was just a
even in a more cynical
Yeah.
light. So you have a candidate who is injured, and maybe he'll take office. I mean, is he going to be able to finish out a term? I don't know. The guy should be rehabbing somewhere.
Yeah.
But he was scarce from the time of the primary election until basically the week leading up to the debate, and
which is, by the way, the same exact game plan they ran Biden through.
Well, no. I mean, he was doing Zoom stuff, and I mean, they weren't even doing that, right? So
that's true. Yeah, it was total blackout.
Yeah, this is just basically, I'm going to avoid campaign with Biden. I'm going to avoid campaigning because I don't have to, because we can use the excuse of COVID. And Trump is being irresponsible by having these huge rallies. We're going to be responsible and not do that, and that's going to protect us from exposing our guy to any kind of oopsies. But with Fetterman, you have 3 or 4 weeks of early voting before you had the debate, and I think people scrubbed the data off Google. There were huge spikes in searching in Pennsylvania for how do I change my vote, that kind of stuff. But and I'm sure there's probably a mechanism for that, but it was too late. And so they knew that if we commit to a debate that's close enough to the election, that gives us enough time to make sure we have enough ballots in hand before we even put ourselves at risk of exposure, they were able to do that. And if they didn't, they could have canceled the debate, and that would have probably been less damaging than the debate ended up being. But it didn't matter because the cake was already baked.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I keep just thinking about, Pike County, Pennsylvania, very, 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 very red. It was blue all day until actual returns started coming in, which just goes to show all of the mail-in pre-voting or whatever it was all to the Dems, which is crazy. It's crazy. I've never seen that.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things here. I mean, we've gone down this slippery slope for a long time. I mean, one, just the very basics of it. You should have to expend some sort of effort, in my opinion, to go vote, right? We've gone. I mean, it used to be in this country way back at the beginning, you had to be a property owner to vote. Not saying we go back to that, but maybe you should have to leave your house to go vote, or make some sort of effort. And then we have a problem. Like, I mean, we've got Fetterman for 6 years because it used to be that the state legislatures appointed the senators, but now, I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't get a crack at that seat again for another 6 years.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a functioning system.
No, it's not. But these puppets, though, they get in and then they do whatever they're told to do. That's in my opinion, that's what Biden's doing. He doesn't have an original thought in his head. And then you got Fetterman's going to do the same thing. So they're trying to exude control over these large electorates and disable them. Double entendre.
Well, let's be real here with this, and this is like the thing. This one of the stupid things I see coming out of our side is that, like, Fetterman's the new face of the Democratic Party, and it's like, give me a break. He's one of 100 senators. He has no control over anything that goes on in the state of Pennsylvania from a policy standpoint. It's voting on behalf of the state of Pennsylvania for whatever is on the floor of the Senate.
Sure.
So it's really not.
They still have control of the Senate. So
until they break the Senate, which I'm sure there are people. I'm not sure. I know there are people that, and this goes back to the 17th Amendment stuff, where you've got the Senate has been reduced to a varsity squad of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So it's not fair that California only has 2 senators and Montana has also 2 senators, and it's unequal representation. Well, that's the point. That's the point, because you're representing the state of California, and the 2 people in Montana are representing the state of Montana.
Right.
So you're not representing the people of Billings. Specifically, that's your congressional person. So,
well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been butchered by the switch to populism on all of this stuff. From the original articles, but we could talk about that till the cows come home, and then I'm sure there's plenty of more learned people.
Well, it happens to be one of my pet political issues is the repeal, seeing the repeal of the 17th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have none of the some of the signature legislation in the past decades would have never happened. I mean, if you take Obamacare, for example, I mean, how many people would have been recalled by their state legislatures at that point?
Right.
Yeah, enough for that not to have passed.
Yeah.
So, and because that would be the prerogative of the states.
Hey guys, how's that going for you? How are your plans going? I mean, I know I'm spending so much more money and getting so much better care now.
We actually, this is the first year we're having a problem with it, because not to go too far off track. We're in a high deductible plan, and thank God everybody's healthy. So we put into the HSA, and it's not that big a deal, provided you have the money in the HSA. But something different happened this time with this baby, where they banged the spouse for her copay or whatever, against the deductible in the hospital, and then they also charged us for the kid.
Yeah.
So
that's been happening for years now.
But that's the first one of ours that it's been that way. So the spouse didn't hit her deductible, and the baby didn't hit her deductible. So it's all going against the out of pocket. So that was kind of
So what you're experiencing, Riggs, is so remember when we were talking, I know this is totally off topic, but the ACA, when it came out, I mean, we had talked about this forever ago, that if they had imposed it upon the corporate policies, right, at the time, it would have been murderous. But now that the insurance companies are up to speed on the individual plans on the open marketplace, you're seeing all of the corporate policies go the way of the ACA policies. So even though the federal government hasn't regulated it and required it, it's happening anyway, because it's just a matter of fact, because to maintain 2 sets of plans for any organization, it's you're making widgets, right? And you have one widget for one thing and another widget for the other thing. But if you make the same widget for both things, you're going to save money. So
we've changed providers. I think I've been employed with my company for over 10 years, and I think 7 years we've changed plans. We've always had the same kind of plan, but so with the 5-year gap between kids, we've had 4 kids here, and this is the only one I remember where this particular thing happened, and it wasn't pleasant, but. Regardless, we're here. We're talking about the midterm elections, not my healthcare complaints. And
well, listen, they're all legitimate complaints against the machine that's trying to oppress us.
Yeah, but so
it's going to be a wild Festivus this year. I've got a problem with you people. You're going to hear about it.
So speaking of,
it says it's going to be a wild Festivus this year.
Speaking of
the list of people airing
of grievances, and the recriminations, so that's been kind of one of the interesting things to kind of watch play out over the last 4 or 5 days. We talked about this on Tuesday, so candidate quality, right? Candidate quality, and I think that's important. Okay, we talked about that as being important. So we have candidates that lost, and everyone's blaming Trump and his people for pushing these candidates. I think there's a little bit of that's a little disingenuous because those people could have lost in the primaries, but not for the Democrats kind of going all in to support some of those candidates because they, choose your destructor or whatever from Ghostbusters. So they chose Blake Masters and Carrie Lake as opposed to whatever normie type person was going to run in that race. And, same in Pennsylvania with Oz. You had a normal kind of generic Republican on the ballot, and then you had like the super MAGA candidate on the ballot, and then you had Trump's handpicked guy of Dr. Oz, and he won the primary, and then I think the guy in New Hampshire is another one. Some of these New York congressional candidates, I got all across the map, right, and they all got slaughtered, I guess. So or almost slaughtered. So everyone's blaming Trump, and then you've got the Trump MAGA people throwing all the blame on Mitch McConnell for not allocating funding towards these races correctly. They dumped a whole bunch of money in Alaska to prop up Lisa Murkowski instead of letting nature take its course, which left less money for Arizona and New Hampshire and other places. And I think they pulled out of New Hampshire Arizona completely. And I think Peter Thiel was bankrolling that through the various.
Yeah, I heard grumblings about that. I think you're right.
Like he put 30 million into that race or 15 million or something like that. So there's that. And then you've got I think the refusal of all sides to like grapple with the current election reality with the early voting and the mail-in voting. So that's another, source of blame.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
I just think on this whole stuff, I see all these people like, oh, we got to build our own ballot harvesting machine, and I'm like, that's not the answer.
Oh well, I think that's part of the answer.
It's undo the ability to have that done.
I don't think you're gonna have success doing that.
Ugh.
Some of these states now that you're not going to the ones that are
certainly not in Pennsylvania. Certainly not in Pennsylvania.
No.
So they've now, I think you have.
Won't happen in Michigan either. Yeah,
of Democrats in Pennsylvania or close to it. It's so that nothing's changing there anytime soon.
So they
get on board or
how do you fight against that? I mean, the machine spooled up. Our side, the conservative side, has said, "Ew, that's gross." Right? I'm not gonna do that. But like, they were just gonna get crucified every single election.
What? Yeah, and that instinct of "ew, that's gross" is also my instinct. So
agreed. It is gross. Like that needs to go away. But,
I said it on Tuesday. I said it on Tuesday, and I'll say it again. If I had my way, I would ban early voting.
Yeah,
like
agreed.
Completely. And we can, if we want to complain about giving people time to vote, then make Election Day a federal holiday, and that'll take care of 85% of people that they'll have nothing better to do than go vote, and that's that. But that being is that's never going to happen, and we don't have kings in America, so I can't become king and to decree it. We're stuck with the situation we have, which is only going to get worse, not better, unless you start exporting Florida's processes to other states. I think Georgia did okay too this time.
What could be something that an average citizen could do, or an election committee do to ensure how would you monitor to say or audit? Go to all the people that I say audit, but then I just know that take these $100 gift cards and never say anything about this. Like, you're never going to get, because that makes them co-conspirators, right? I mean, it's like you think about how that's why there's no evidence. It's like the perfect plan.
Yeah, you don't audit it. You don't audit it. You assume it's happening, and you just move forward and duplicate it. So you have some for your side too.
Yeah, but then it's just a money war of who buys more votes. Literally buying the votes. I mean,
then you can lose. You can lose again.
No, I get you, dude. I get you. I get it.
I think honestly that's part of the frustration.
Yes. It shouldn't be.
But I think it's because there's a sizable amount of people that saw the handwriting on the wall. We were going through COVID craziness, and there were people saying, "Stop! Don't do this."
Yeah.
And guess what? We did it. And the people that said, and then here we are, you know. So it's Oh, well, by the way, gentlemen, make sure you mail in your ballots for 2024. So don't forget. I think that's voting starts tomorrow for that.
What?
Get your early vote in.
Get my vote in right now.
It's a gigantic problem, but I think that's part of the frustration. One of the big part of the frustrations with the establishment and the people that have been there forever, such as Mitch McConnell, is what's been done to stand on top of the wall and say stop, don't do this, nothing. So
literally nothing.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, for all the craziness on the Trump side with, some of the conspiracy theories, the thing is that there's a big kernel of truth to all of it. And, people who've seen elections in and out of their lives, and they've seen how they go now. I mean, you would think with mail-in ballots and voting and early voting, man, you should have your votes all counted, close the doors as soon as the election polls close. But they're still counting in Arizona. I mean, why is that? What?
Right.
What? You can't run the pile of ballots through the Scantron, or
yeah, exactly, Tim. Exactly. All right, turn.
I mean, I wish I knew what the solution is.
In my opinion, to get back to an actual, voting electorate, you have to do away with this. It just, there's no way this works. There's just no way. I mean, this has less integrity than an online voting system. In my opinion.
How do you propose we get rid of it?
You have to go back to requesting an absentee ballot, or
what is the mechanism to go back in that direction?
The way back button. Your commonly referenced Calvin and Hobbes reference there, the way back machine, but like, I don't know, Riggs, I really don't. I don't know how you do it, especially when the machine is motivated to not do it. I don't know.
Wasn't this part of the reform in Georgia? I have to do some homework and actually see what was in those laws. And but I think getting control over the mail-in balloting and the early voting was part of that.
It was. I think it came up a little short from memory. But yes, because of the massive harvesting that happened at the 2020 election.
Was it 2020 or 2018? That, so that was the thing. Like, right, like we had the 2018 that the president of Earth, Stacey Abrams, lost.
Yes. Sorry,
And,
it was for 18. She somehow miraculously got almost
now,
1 million people to vote that never voted before, or what, something
and
like
now, and then they made some changes after 2020, right? Because that affected the baseball All-Star game last year and everything. But I think it was tied to that 2018 stuff too, not just the water pipes breaking and crap, in 2020. But it seems to have gone a lot smoother there.
Yeah, but that was our current president too. I mean, he got something like what was it?
insane numbers.
20 more than Barack Obama.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And on the face of it, you're supposed to say nothing to see here.
Right. And that's what I keep going. That's the major evidence that I keep going back to. That yes, they are bringing in voters back into the electorate. That's what they say, but they're bringing them in by voting for them and harvesting all of their paper ballots and then stuffing boxes and doing all those things. I remember I had conversations, with people, not you guys, other people back then that are from Georgia, and they're like, this is amazing. People are like, empowered and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's actually the opposite. When you think about it, they're disempowered, they're not exercising their right. They're probably getting $100 gift card. I mean, honestly, let's face it. And that's like the biggest thing that
I don't think it's that much money if it's anything.
It may not have to be that much money, but who cares? I mean, you're talking about these political campaigns that have freaking gajillions of dollars.
I saw there was some stuff floating around a couple weeks ago. It's basically like, an insider explains how this is done, and it's I think the people that bring the ballots get like $10, and that's about it.
No, it's got to be more than that. Got to be more than that.
I don't think so, because if people
they might have some true believers working for $10 an hour, but I mean,
not $10, not $10 an hour, $10 a vote. So if you go to an apartment building,
okay,
full of apathetic people, and you say we're signing up for mail-in ballots, and I'm going to come back on this day and collect them, and then you bring back 100 filled out ballots to the collection point, and you get $10.
That just makes the whole situation worse, Riggs. Honestly, I mean, it's what
I think that's more likely what's happening than actually paying somebody for their vote.
Maybe. Listen, I have no idea. I threw a number at the wall. It was like if a guy came to somebody's door that was a low income person, whatever race, doesn't even matter, and said, "Listen, man."
Well, I don't think you need to go there. I would take $100 for some of these elections. That my vote.
That's what I'm saying.
But you don't even have to go there. Even really, I mean, I show up to vote. We had one race on the ballot. Like, would you like a sample ballot? It's like, if you're showing up at the polls and you don't know how you're going to vote, there is a problem, and you need somebody to hand you a piece of paper that says this is how you shall vote.
Right.
That's a fundamental problem.
See, you're looking at it from you're right, and I think we're looking at it from the perspective of people that pay probably too much attention to this stuff. So there's no question. I mean, every once in a while there's like a ballot question that I didn't read ahead of time for like putting we're gonna buy floodplain land and green acres kind of stuff, like, well, sure, so I didn't I'll read it in the polling booth, but like, yeah, I mean, there's people, if you can compel them to go vote, they pay zero attention to this. They have no idea. I mean, these are the kind of man on the street interviews where people have no idea who the president is, no idea who the vice president is, no idea who their senators are.
Well, it's funny. The president doesn't even know who the president is. So there's that.
So, yeah. But so so we've talked about like some areas where blame can be assigned. What are the recriminations? What needs to happen?
I didn't use such fancy $20 words as Riggs does, but that's kind of what I was asking about a half hour.
I mean, let's set aside I think we've beaten to death the ballot stuff. So like,
Yeah.
I'm talking more on the politician side now. So you've got a handful of, or maybe an arms full of crappy candidates, pushed forth by President Trump, and then you've got Mitch McConnell and his inaction or action on his preferred candidates, and you've got a bunch of you got a red wave that stopped at the Florida border. So
That's a levy.
who should McCarthy be Speaker of the House if the Republicans can somehow? I mean, is that even confirmed yet? Did the Republicans take control of the House?
Not confirmed yet, but I think it's pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, so is McCarthy still going to be the head of the GOP in the House? Should Mitch McConnell be the head of the Senate GOP? Who's the alternative? Let's talk about Trump and DeSantis and somehow the Lincoln Project taking credit for starting this fight that was inevitable. I mean, oh my goodness! But where do we? Who's the fall guy or guys or gals or they fall them?
Well, as the non super political person here, in terms of like keeping track of everything, everything just looks like a shit sandwich. So I couldn't even say, I'm more focused on the process than the people, because it seems like the piece, like you just said, Dr. Oz didn't have any like missteps. Perfectly like okay candidate, like he's like white bread or maybe wheat bread,
a shady guy that didn't live in Pennsylvania. That's the problem.
So there was the anti-outsider thing, which I think did actually like affect a little bit, but like you said, it didn't really affect the total outcome because it all is already set. I don't know. I don't know if all the nuance that you guys are super into and who's doing what and whether it's the turtle or the Donald or the the radicals. I don't know. I have no idea, because to me it doesn't make any fucking difference. as a layperson.
All right, so we can kind of skip over that, I guess. But
you guys get into it for sure. Don't let me stop that.
I think top of my list is Mitch the Turtle needs to go.
Is Rick Scott like challenging him? Is that what's happening?
I think that's in between the lines. That is what's happening. We'll see. There can't be a lot of people happy in the Senate that you have this potential. Because one thing we haven't touched on is the polls, and I think the polls were accurate. So everybody, now there's some people out there saying, "Oh, we got to reevaluate the polls," but I maybe not to the degree that we thought they were, but I would say for the most part they were probably accurate. What skewed them is this early voting going-ons. So if you're in the Senate, you've got to be upset at the leadership for conceivably blowing or not even trying in an attempt to gain control of the Senate. He famously said, "You'll hear about the next agenda once we win." Right? There was no platform.
I missed that one. But
you missed. Oh no! I got to look that up and find. Some reporter asked a question: "Is what's your agenda for if the Republicans take the Senate?" You'll hear after we win. Basically, was
that's like a you'll find out what's in the bill after we pass it. Kind of.
Yeah, we'll read it once we vote for it.
Yeah. So so for all the finger pointing at Trump, and Trump hasn't made the smartest moves in my opinion, especially very recently. But I mean, Trump hasn't been around that long. Not as long as Mitch McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we're gonna say, "Oh, you screwed up this election, Trump," I mean, we go look at the guy that's been there, infinity longer. How does he get a pass? Now, right. I mean, I'm more likely to give McCarthy a pass. On some things because I haven't heard as many things of him working against primary choices and what have you. But we have heard that about dumping $10 million in Alaska. So I mean and then the RNC chair. I mean, what has McDaniels done for us these past 2 election cycles? Yes,
I haven't even thought about her.
Yeah,
not harvested votes is what.
Yes, not harvesting, not even sowing the seeds, let alone getting to the harvest. Correct. So, the hangers on and whatnot, those are the top of my list that need to go. So, what do you think, Riggs?
I mean, I think everybody needs to go away. Who's in leadership right now? So and
now let me tell you about term limits. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean they can.
Don't get me started on term limits.
Everyone. They're in the House. They're in the Senate. You're not going to get rid of them that way. But everybody in the leadership, this was such an abject failure, this election cycle, that I think, I don't know how anyone with a straight face could say that they should be, put back into leadership.
Well, okay. So would you agree?
It's got to start at the top. So I think.
But do you agree with my premise that there was, we had defeat snatched from the jaws of victory here? If more work and smarter people, or people that actually wanted to win, were in charge of things.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think that I still am not convinced, and maybe it's just because I'm not in touch with the my femininity enough to know that the Dobbs decision was so super important. I mean, I'm sure it was important to some people that are single issue voters on abortion, but to me the economic stuff is so much more important right now to everybody that I can't think that it had that big of an effect. So that it comes down to the get out the vote operation, the leadership of the party, and then the candidate selection. So that means that everybody involved in at the state and national level for the Republican Party needs to hand in their resignation, and everybody involved with putting forth gimmicky candidates needs to take a back seat next time, including our former president. Yes, no.
I think it's time to blow it all up, personally. And unfortunately, gents, I gotta log off, but feel free to keep rocking here. Good to chat as always. Let me know when the next session will be.
All right. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good one, Wog.
Bye. Wah!
Yeah, so I on the Trump thing, I mean, he's such an enigma. maybe not. That's the wrong word to probably very predictable in some of the things he does. But he wasn't in charge of the vote getting, the apparatus, and all the bells and whistles just go around.
Well, yes and no. I mean, he does have control over a large pile of money that could be used to.
Yeah, but that's not the official party apparatus.
Right,
Not,
but neither is Peter Thiel, right? So
no.
so
I agree. I agree with that. But Peter Thiel's not running anything in the Republican Party. Maybe he should be. I'm not disputing that. The crop of people that we have, I think that's what we agree on. Go. And I just think with regards to the issue of Trump, he is not at the top of my list. He's maybe on the list. He's not saying he's not on the list, but he's not at the top of the list in my estimation.
okay.
Other people have screwed up more spectacularly, I think, in this. So.
Well, do you think some of this is intentional to, they say, well, Trump's endorsed a bunch of these candidates that we think are not our kind of people. So let's
yeah, but that's more reason for them. That's more reason for them to be jettisoned.
Oh, of course.
No.
Let's make sure they fail, and then we can blame Trump.
You and I know how we've held our nose and went to the polls and said, not my guy, but better than the, we're going to do the party thing. And, right. And how much time and effort was whipped to whip the base into voting for the, shit sandwich. And when the shoe's on the other foot, they don't like it, do they? So actively work against the party. I mean, maybe we should close on this, but I mean, the demographics thing, there is a lot of positive signs. Even though the election itself, not a barn burner, to say the least, but the demographic shifts that are happening are very positive.
Yeah, and then you want to get into like but see, this is again with all the the blame casting and finger pointing that's going on. So you have obviously what happened to Florida. I mean, I think those were absolutely awesome demographic shifts for the governor there. But then you have you have a higher African American participation, higher Latin American participation. Go up and down the line with different demographic groups, and then you've got the super MAGA people, which I would have at one point probably included myself in that group, but they you take Trump out of the equation, all that goes away, and I just don't believe that, because I think those people see the progressive left and say, this is not for me. This guy over here, he's saying he's going to put a stop to that. I'm going to go vote for him. And I think that's driving more of the demographic, change and shift than one particular person at the top of a ticket.
I would agree with that. I would say that with a broader view of history, Trump was just a reboot of the Tea Party.
Yeah,
and the Tea Party was used and abused by the establishment, but found themselves, or the base, the spirit of it, a white knight in Trump. And I think the MAGA is a continuation of the Tea Party. So in that respect, no, I don't think that group of people, or the vast majority of that group of people, are gone if Trump is not at the head of it anymore. What I do think is it's not going to be replaced with a leader, a squish leader. It's got to be It's got to be somebody dynamic and a fighter. That's the key. And I think that's what people see in DeSantis. So that know DeSantis.
Well, I mean, I think we've been saying it for 3 years, at least since COVID. I time is such a blur over the last 3 years. It doesn't even make any sense anymore. But I can't remember. Not that I wasn't thinking highly of DeSantis or really thinking anything about him up until probably May of 2020, when he started pushing back on some of the the jackass on the beach with the Grim Reaper outfit and that kind of stuff. So you see somebody who is Trump-like without Trump's baggage, and I think that is a wonderful thing. Provided they're not going to stab you in the back or in the front, when they get put into power. But all the things you like about Trump, and not the constant fear of, well, we had this great policy victory today, so it's 9 a.m. By 5 p.m. he's going to tweet something out that's going to totally make everybody forget about the good thing that just happened,
Yeah.
And they're just having that happen over and over and over and over again, on repeat. And again, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, in my office environment, not having having people who can speak about things rationally around me for most of the last 3 years, that we can have a conversation and not get heated about it and say, well, I voted for this guy and here's why, and I disagree with this and I agree with this, and everyone, I know you're not supposed to do that, but I felt comfortable doing that, and I have people around me that are also comfortable doing that, so you can have a collegial conversation like we used to have, without saying, oh, that guy, he voted for Trump, he's bad, we can't talk to him anymore. But having to constantly defend the stupidity, and say, well, Trump said this, and well, he didn't really mean that. Look at what he's actually done, policy wise, which I think was true for the most part. But it just got exhausting, So I see a lot of people on Twitter now saying, oh, it's the diehards will go with him all the way to the end, and there's no such thing as Trump fatigue. And I know I've been talking about that for over 2 years, certainly leading up to the last election, that man, this is just getting exhausting, to have to kind of defend this all the time. So having somebody who will take the fight to the enemy, enemy in quotes, I don't think most of these people are really our enemy, but some of them are, but who's going to attack the media that's distorting things head on, and then take your policy, your preferred policy items, and advance them in a meaningful way, without taking any prisoners, basically. And I think DeSantis was the guy that I saw as maybe being that person. So having this or knife fight between Trump and DeSantis is not particularly desirable, but it looks like it might happen. I mean, certainly Trump is trying to do that. And somebody made an interesting point. I've seen a few people make it, is that in the 2016 primary, and I don't remember this exactly this way, but maybe it's true, that Trump basically didn't attack anybody until they attacked him. So that's where the little Marco and Lion Ted and all these things kind of came, until what he called what the hell did he say about Ben Carson? Basically that he was a psychopath. Was the gist of it. But So Trump waited for them to throw the first punch, and then he would. And I think that's, if you look at the Trump, the history of Trump in the New York City media ecosystem for the last 40 years, that was kind of the how things kind of went. So this was unusual in him kind of taking the first crack at it, being on the offensive, because he sees that. Probably because he sees that DeSantis is a popular figure. He outperformed all the metrics in Florida in this election. He's popular nationally, and Trump is threatened by somebody for the first time. So he's the one. He's going to be now he's throwing whatever he can against the wall to see what sticks. So you've got stupid stuff like DeSanctimonious or whatever, and then basically saying because he didn't flat. Yeah, I mean that was just crazy. But then because DeSantis didn't say I'm not going to run for president, he gave the typical politician weasel answer like I'm focused on this election and I'm not looking at the future. That was the wrong answer, and that's disloyal and whatever that stuff is. And I would say to that is that Donald Trump, if you're listening to this, you should show some loyalty to your supporters. So we've been here for 6+ years. Some of us joined along the way, and we've defended you all through thick and thin. All the stupid things you've said and how you humiliated us over and over again. And it might be nice to have some loyalty from you, from the top down, coming back to us, at some point, that you're not going to continue to embarrass us and humiliate us. And that would be my statement on that.
And if we can hear what your plan is to actually hire decent people in your administration, I would like to hear that. So,
yeah. So you can actually govern. But
yes. All right. Well, should we call it a night?
Yeah, quickie one tonight. I had some other topics queued up, but we could pick them up next time. I don't think Indiana Jones.
We've gone an hour.
And Avatar are going anywhere, so we could talk about some of the fun stuff now that we've cleared this off the plate. So
I'll look forward to it.
So please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the bell for notifications. And we'll see you next time on the bitter end. Have a good night.